Hey everybody, Dave Hagan here. We're going to talk about cutting the cord. Didn't we already talk about that? Oh, but there's so much more. That's today on the Financial Wellness Podcast.
Welcome to the Financial Wellness Podcast, Dave's weekly message to keep you on your path to the financial success. Here is your host, financial problem solver and talk show host, Dave Hagan.
All right, here we are again at Uncle Studios in beautiful downtown Van Nuys. We've got Brian Reed with us today. Brian, welcome.
Good morning, David.
Always good to have you here and have a little bit of repartee. So today I want to talk again about cutting the cord. And I know everyone's thinking, why do you want to do that again? We did this, about a month ago, maybe?
About a month ago? Yeah.
About a month ago. And Brian, your episode, I mean, that was one that you directed, you wrote and directed, and it was one of the most popular episodes that we ever did. You were talking about your process, your journey of leaving cable, getting totally fed up, and everybody's got one of those stories. So there's all this buy-in and sympathy from the listeners. And you talked about how you totally had moved to becoming a cord cutter. But I think that's the first reason is this was one of the most important topics that we've ever talked about. Another reason that we want to talk about this again is it's timely. Things have changed since just the last show. And that last show was like what we say, a month and a half ago, something like this. We're in the middle of a digital revolution and stuff is happening. Stuff is exploding all around us. The dynamics are changing. And I thought that it would be important to kind of update and talk this out a little bit more. And I think the third reason that we want to talk about it today is, I don't know, but to me, it's really interesting stuff. Cable or internet is our source of information. It affects our politics. It affects our worldview. It's our main source of entertainment. Now, maybe that's sad. We're all looking at our TVs or whatever, and that's how we entertain ourselves. And we've talked about that on other podcasts, but it's true. I mean, it's the main pipeline to the whole world.
It's information. It's where we're getting it from.
Absolutely. So let's spend some time talking about this. And since the last show, people have come up to me and said, well, what really is a cord cutter? What does that mean? Because it doesn't sound like Brian really cut any kind of cable because he's still got internet coming in. And being a cord cutter means that you're not looking at cable TV anymore. You still have the internet. You still have a cable coming into the house. You still get a bill every month for internet. I don't think we can go without now that internet coming in. I remember some years ago, 8-9 years ago already, and my wife and I were moving into a new house. And I said, look, I got all the stuff that I can set up. You want me to set up the phone or the power or, what needs to go first? And she looked at me very seriously and she says, you have 10 minutes to have internet in this house. So being the dutiful husband, that's exactly what I did. I know what's good for me.
The internet working.
Absolutely. So you can't really go without it. I mean, I guess you could if you wanted to just have a digital plan on your phone or your iPad. But one, digital plans are pretty expensive, although some outfits offer unlimited digital. And two, it's a little punchy. It's a little slow. I don't know if that's really a good solution for a house. But what it means is that you're getting your information or your signal, if you will, a completely different way.
Right. You're cutting out the middleman.
Well,
the bundle.
I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, I think you're right. You're cutting out whoever's bundling that middle piece.
There's content, and then that all goes in through the cable provider, all the channels, and then it comes back to you.
Yeah.
So take them out and go directly to the channel.
Yeah. Hopefully it's better, cheaper or something. Well, we'll see. All right. So again, what are the steps to becoming a cable cutter? Well, as Brian talked about last time, step one, you have to evaluate your usage. If you're okay with the 4 main networks, and some people say 5 if you include PBS, but I'm talking about ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. That's one set of things that you might need. Heck, those main networks were really all we had back in the day. Do you look at other cable channels? Is the next thing you want to think about. Cable channels like TNT, CNN, Discover. If you want them, or if you think that you want them, well, now you might have some other kind of solution. Sometimes you just think that you want them because they're there. Brian, you've been doing this differently for a while now. Do you find that you're missing some of those channels?
Gotta be honest.
Yeah.
No, I think, maybe one of the things we're paying for when we have a bundled cable package is just the option.
Yeah.
We like to have the option of going to the Comedy Channel, Comedy Central.
Yeah.
Now I don't have that. Guess what? I don't miss it. There was nothing on that channel that I really needed to see anyway.
Right.
So,
right.
Do I miss kind of, surfing through? Maybe a little bit, but I also am just doing other things.
Right.
It's not enough time to watch TV anyway, so why pay for it?
Right. I remember when we got cable, my wife and I years ago, I said, "Oh, look, honey, 200 channels of," and by the time you figured out what was on 200 channels, there was very little really that you wanted to look at. I mean, how long can you look at Home Shopping Club and things in languages that you don't understand, or how many episodes of Keeping Up with the Kardashians can you stomach? It's just kind of, a lot of it's stuff you don't want to look at. All right, so maybe you also want premium channels, HBO, Showtime, Hulu. Those things are starting to have some quality things. They recently
They've
had
got some great content.
Yeah,
now.
yeah. What was it? The Grammys? Not the Grammys. The Emmys. What's the awards for the TV shows?
The Emmys.
The Emmys.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Emmys recently gave out all their awards, and wow, HBO was getting stuff, and Netflix was getting stuff.
They were cleaning up.
Yeah, it used to be that it was kind of like rerun TV up on those channels, but they're producing their own stuff. In fact, we've seen some great stuff on some of those channels. Not HBO so much, but we saw what was it? Was it on Netflix or Amazon? We saw the Crown.
Yeah, that's a good series. Again, you're talking about the whole digital revolution, and people can, these studios can do it themselves now and provide it themselves.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I remember when Netflix started to say, hey, we're going to produce our own content, and I thought, oh my goodness, they're completely going to sidestep the whole entertainment apparatus, if you will. And they've done that, and now the entertainment apparatus, or at least the award givers, have kind of brought them in. So kind of interesting. So if your first step is, what do you look at in terms of, do you want to see the main network? Second step is, do you want to look at other channels like TNT or CNN or Discover? And next step is, do you want some premium channels? Do you look at HBO or Showcase or those? And then the next step is Netflix, Amazon Prime, the other providers, if you will. And then maybe like the final step is, do you want a DVR? Do you want to be able to record stuff? That's a big thing for us because we like to record Saturday Night Live, only because I usually fall asleep before it starts. It's sad but true. And I say this in a public forum. Yeah, I think I will. We like to fast forward through the commercials because it's a different show when you have to listen to all the commercials. It's a different pace. It's a different pattern when you have all of those. So the first step is think about for a week or two, what you look at, what's important to you, what might you not miss if it's not there. Write it down on a piece of paper. Second step, pick pieces to fill your needs. Put together a constellation of items that fulfill those needs. So if you're only looking at the networks, try antenna. Digital TV is great. It's an all or nothing medium. We talked about that about a month ago. You don't have the fuzz and the static and all that. You're either going to get the picture or not. And if you get the picture, you're getting it in a digital format. It's usually pretty sharp. It's usually pretty great. And all you got to do is buy an antenna. Brian, you talked about this last time. In fact, I think you said don't buy an antenna. You said
you got to buy multiple
antennas.
You just got to invest the time at the beginning to, experiment with the antenna in different locations, and look online at the government website about the channels and where the antennas are for where the towers are in relation to your house, and then do you need an omnidirectional antenna, or can it just be one way? So it's there, but yeah, get a couple and do the work.
So it's a whole bunch of choices, really. Did you get your antennas online, or did you get them at
the them online?
Really?
I just did Amazon.
Wow. Okay. All right. And you said buy several, try out different.
That was my mistake, is that I just bought one initially, and then it took me a while to realize, wait a minute, I should just order a ton.
Right.
And then return them.
And the different antennas have different performances.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now you attach the antenna to the antenna input on your TV.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
And all the
I have an antenna again?
That sounds so complicated. Yeah. Plug it into the antenna input. But that's the way you do it. And then you had to have the tuner inside the TV search for the channels. So it goes through this protocol where it's popping up what the different channels are.
There are so many over-the-air channels I didn't even know about.
Really?
There's a gazillion of them. Every major language has their own channel.
Right.
And there's a cooking show in every language.
Wow.
On all these little, upper end TV stations.
But not a lot of stuff that you'd necessarily look at.
No.
I mean, you were looking for the big four, basically.
Give me the big four. That's all I need.
Right. And those big four, they're required by law to broadcast. So they're there.
Yeah.
You may not be able to pull them in because you might not have a clear enough sight line to the tower. I think in LA they're on Mount Palomar or something. But they're required to broadcast by law. That's part of their license. So why not take advantage of it, So if you only want the major networks, the advantages of putting up an antenna are it's free, except for the antenna. And I think you said, Brian, these antennas weren't expensive, $40, $50.
Yep.
One-time purchase. The signal's clear if you get the signal. Now, some you may not, but if you get the signal, it's clear. You don't need an internet wire coming into your house. You don't need to bear that expense. But the selection is limited.
Is limited.
Now, maybe that's a bad thing for you, or maybe it's a good thing for you. It depends upon your viewing habits. I guess the disadvantages are it's difficult to set up. I mean, it sounds like it was a pain. I tried to do it some years ago, and it was kind of a pain in the neck.
Yeah, it was annoying.
Right. And you may not get all the channels.
This is true. And I have noticed, actually, since we've last talked about this, I'm not saying it's weather that will affect it, but it does seem like some days a channel that was crystal clear now has a little popping. And you'll get a little pixelation for a second while it readjusts itself.
Okay. Not the end of the world, but kind of we're used to these totally fluid feeds coming in through the internet wire, and so you can get a little bit of popping or switching.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I guess the disadvantage is you can't record the signal unless you buy a DVR box.
Get a DVR box.
And then good luck, programming it. We go back to that whole thing, figuring out how to program it and make it stop blinking 12 o'clock. Or unless you get a digital box. And there's boxes out there that, that'll record digitally your signal if you want. But now you need another piece of equipment. You need to learn how to use a different piece of equipment. But for people that like just the big four, well, that's a nice solution.
Yeah, it's a one-time purchase of a DVR, and there you go.
And it's free. We're loving free. All right, but if you want these other channels, what do you got to do? Well, first of all, you need a service. You need someone that's going to provide that. So some of the services that are out there, like DirecTV Now, not DirecTV, but DirecTV Now, Hulu, Sling, YouTube. Spectrum is new to the scene. They've got an app out there, and they're trying to provide some limited types of signal. So what you do is you go to their app and and you get networks and the other channels. So you don't need that antenna because it's giving you the big four plus these other channels. The cost is, I don't know, $20 to $70 depending upon where you're going to get it and how big of a package you want. A lot of them have different levels of packages with sports, without sports. It's kind of like you're back on the cable TV track again, but not completely necessarily, because you've got some other options and some other things that you can do. You're going to need a box or some type of streaming media player. That's what they call it. So you're looking at Apple TV, Google, Comcast, Amazon Fire, which comes in a box format or actually a stick that you can plug into the back. Roku, same thing. It's a box or a stick. And I think that Roku is probably the number one selling device, last I heard. I use Apple TV because it's just convenient and it works in with my iTunes account, and I can look at my movies and all that stuff through that box. But I guess most people are using Roku. And the cost is maybe, I don't know, $50 to $100, but it's a one-time purchase. Again, it's a box that sits right next to your TV or behind your TV, and it works. So these boxes are available on, again, the internet or the electronic store. And what you do is you open up the box and you attach it to your internet cable, and then you plug it into input 1 on the TV, and you're off to the races. When you start up the TV in the box, a page comes up with all these apps, the Hulu, the Netflix, all these apps, and you subscribe to one or a couple of them. In fact, I would suggest try several, because a lot of them have a free 30-day trial or 15-day trial. And one of the things that's going to be most important when you're comparing these different services is what their interface looks like, whether it's easier for you to use on your remote or your little remote that came with your Roku or your Apple TV or whatever you want. So the advantages of this is it's, almost a near cable experience. You can also put these apps on your iPad or your iPhone, and most of them act in a digital format or bring that digital signal onto your personal device. And most of these work, and I think this is so critical, on a 30-day contract. So if you don't like them, you're not locked in for a year or 2 years. You don't have like someone else's big box or remote. There's a lot to like about it. I guess there's some disadvantages. They're not quite as simple to start up, maybe a little easier than the antenna. But you don't have the duration of that contract. You can jump from device or from service to service, and that's kind of nice. But you're still going to have some costs. You're not going to save a ton of money. If you think about it, you're going to spend $40, $50 on an internet bill every month, and you're going to pay maybe $40 for the source. So you're in $80, $90. That's certainly less than the $100, $120, $140 you might pay the cable TV folks. In fact, when I left some other company about a year and a half ago, I was up to $180, $190. I don't even know what was happening to me there. It just kind of ramped up. So there's some good advantages to getting the box and a digital streaming device and looking at these other channels through these boxes and these other services if you want. Now, if you want premium channels, the HBO and the Showtime, what do you do? Well, you still need a box, and sometimes you can get them added into the service provider that you've already done a deal with. Of course, it'll be an additional fee. So instead of $40, $50, it'll be $50 or $60 if you want the HBO or some of these other add-ons. It adds a little bit on. Sometimes you can even get them as a separate app. So when the main screen comes up on your streaming box, it's going to say HBO Direct or Now or whatever that particular service is called. So you can do it that way. So you get a bill from the cable provider, not the cable provider, but for the content provider. You get a bill from the internet company, and you're also going to pay, on the credit card another $10 for HBO or Showtime or maybe both or whatever. So it starts to add up. Now, if you want additional sources of signal like Netflix or Amazon Prime, you're still going to need the box. And it's always an add-on. It always comes up as an app on that main screen. And they'll charge you another, $10, $15 a month. And if you want both, you're going to pay for both. So now you add all these things up, and you're starting to come back up into
same price you had initially.
Cable TV land. Yeah. Now there's still advantages. We'll talk about that in a minute, but you're not saving all that much. I thought an interesting tip was that if you want Amazon Prime, and we've only started looking at Amazon Prime recently, but if you've got Amazon Prime because you want free delivery of stuff to the house, you get the cable free. You get the media stream for free. So now you have access to all that other stuff just because you're already paying or being a member of Amazon Prime, primarily to get the free delivery. Mm-hmm. And we've been doing that a lot at our house because if you can get something delivered free, it's so much easier to buy it online than to run over to the store. So that's kind of a free add-in. A lot of people have Netflix. I mean, I started using Netflix back in the day when it was 5 DVDs a month, right? Remember that? It was like a little sticker added on to the DVD box. And it's like, whoa, they'll send me, for $10 a month or whatever it was, 5 DVDs. And
nice.
They had these major distribution centers where they would distribute DVDs. Mostly it was being done by computer or machines. And then they said, well, but for the same price or for a little bit more, you can stream them. Remember how earth-shattering that was? It's like, I don't have to have a DVD delivered? Whoa. I
can just watch it? What?
Whoa. The future is here.
What is this wizardry?
Yeah. So it was kind of crazy. And now, for a while, Netflix was kind of becoming rerun TV. And they couldn't get the movies all the time because the studios wouldn't license to them all the time. And that's when they started to produce their own content. And their content now is pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Their original stuff is pretty good.
They've got a lot of original stuff. When was the last time you scrolled through Netflix and didn't see some new show by Netflix?
Right.
They're constantly making
tons of stuff. Now, it's not promoted as heavily as the movies that show up in the movie houses because they're not spending the money on the promotion. They're spending the money on the production. But if you can see something that catches your eye, and all of a sudden you're into a series. Interesting stuff. I mean, that's how we got into the Queen. It was like, something about Queen Elizabeth when she was young. Okay. And it turned into this really amazing dramatic presentation, and we ended up watching the whole thing. So, and I think they've done two seasons now. So it's a way that we want to keep looking at our Netflix. So why, then it occurred to me, why go through all this hassle if you can get all of this on, cable TV? Well, one, you're going to save a little bit of money. That's certainly an advantage. I like saving a little bit of money. It's, $90 as opposed to 120 or 150 or 180. That's kind of nice. It's not quite as convenient as having it all there and flipping up and running up and down on the channels. But it's the cost savings is nice. In fact, again, if you only want the networks, buy an antenna.
Yeah.
Just buy an antenna, spend $40, $50 and you're done. Another reason that you maybe want to do this is flexibility. You can add on Netflix and Prime. If you're getting cable TV, they're not going to give you the option to add in Netflix and Prime. You're still going to need that streaming media box so that you can get to the Netflix and the Prime apps. But if you got it all together without having to go to the cable TV people, that's kind of nice. The biggest thing to me is these are 30-day contracts. These are 30-day deals. If you don't like it, you go to the website or you call them up or whatever, and you just say, turn it off, and they go, okay. So you can jump from service to service. I kind of like that. With the cable people, they typically, although they're not doing it as much anymore, typically you had 1 year or 2 years commitment. They'd give you a price break, but you'd have a commitment. And if you wanted to turn it off, they said, no, you'll send us $300 or something. It's like, well, that's not very fun. You don't have the cable TV guy in the appointment and the cable TV box and the wiring and the new remotes and all that kind of stuff. You got the little box, you own it. It works pretty good. And once you got it set up, pretty easy. I really enjoyed taking our cable box back. I said, here, take this.
Mailing it back was a happy day.
Yeah. And they were so nice about it. But, I really enjoyed making them take it back. And three, I think there's just going to be more truth for you in these transactions. I had a cable service. This is a little bit of my cable story, not as interesting as yours, but it is my cable story. I ordered like the triple play, and they brought in, they had to rewire the house, and they brought in 2 cable boxes, I guess, and it was supposed to be $100, $30 for the phone, $30 for the internet, $30 for the TV. And I said, well, $100, that's better than the $180 that I'm spending any day of the week. Okay, I'll take one of those. But by the time we, got it all set up, we were going to be spending more. The first thing that we did is we said we don't want the phone. So now can it be $60? Oh no. Oh no.
Oh no.
No, the other 2 things go up, so it's still about $100. The internet piece goes up. And when I looked at the TV, it started at $30. I mean, literally $29. But when you get the first bill, they got all these add-ons. So there was a $12 add-on for Digitier. I don't know what that is. $14 for 2 boxes and remotes. Okay, $5 for taxes, and $9 for a broadcast TV fee. So you add that up, and what's that? Like $40. So something that cost $29 is now $69. Now it's only $40, but you know what? It's more than twice as much as they were telling me it was going to cost. That doesn't seem very truthful to me. So
bait and switch. Yeah,
it kind of is. And the nice thing about a service is, these other services that we talked about, it's the fee. It's the $30, $40, whatever the fee is. And there's no add-ons. There's not the taxes or not the this and that. If they bump the amount up, you can go, hey, I'm going somewhere else. And in fact, my service recently went up $5. So I'm looking around. I'm looking around to Hulu and some of the other places. I didn't go with them because I didn't like their user interface as much, the way the page looked. Mm-hmm. But I might have to rethink. And I really think that needs to be re-examined, and you've got the ability to do it. So what is changing in this field? I think that I had said before, everything. It's exploding around us almost day to day. A lot of this varies by region in the country, depending upon who the different providers are. The Wall Street Journal just reported a couple months ago that a lot of these services, now that they've got people to sign up, are planning on increasing their amount. And I think I just said that my DirecTV now just went up $5, so I've got to rethink that. But you've got the ability to hop, and I'm going to certainly check them out. Spectrum, who's a huge provider, has got a new offer, a new service. And what they're looking to do is let you pick 10 channels, $22 a month. You get to pick out of this list.
That's interesting.
Well, now that starts to sound pretty good. It's a lot cheaper, and you pick the channels, but it's a limited group. Mm-hmm. So, but I saw ESPN and I saw some of the others. But there's a little asterisk after the $22, and I read the fine print on the back, and it's for 2 years. So then at the end of 2 years, what are you going to do?
You're right back into a contract.
Yeah, so it was more and this and that. And, by the time you add it all up, maybe it's not that much cheaper. However, at the end of the 2 years, when it starts to bump up, I suppose you just go to another app. You just pick somebody else. So it's evolving almost daily. An interesting time to be a consumer, or maybe you want to be a lesser consumer of digital information, digital signal, huh?
Every day it's changing.
Right.
You don't know what the next, somebody's going to come up with another, this Spectrum thing I didn't hear about yet, so I'm glad you told me about it. That's interesting.
Only available in selected areas, but they can put it anywhere they want as long as you've got the digital streaming box. All you got to do is download the app and sign up, and there you are. $22 a month for Signal. Not bad. Not bad.
Plus, you get it on all your devices, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, you got to be careful sometimes with the devices. I didn't talk about this, but they tell you that, your device will see it anywhere that you need to go. Some of them limit it only to your wireless network. So if you go to another town and you're thinking, hey, I want to look at the signal, but it shows an error. They don't even say, hey, you shouldn't, this doesn't work outside your network. It says, oh, there's an error. And by the time you do the research, you realize that they don't do that. Although some of them do. DirecTV now lets me look at my signal anywhere. So it's kind of cool.
Cool.
So we're rapidly running out of time, and let's wrap it up. What are our takeaways? Hey, you can get TV for free. If you only want the networks, buy an antenna. It's free. TV's changing. And there's tons of options that you can get with TV or signal coming through a digital streaming box. An interesting time to be alive, an interesting time to get our information over the internet, but maybe also causing us to rethink how much of this we want to consume, how much quality do we demand in what we look at, rather than just surfing up and down the channels.
We certainly don't need 200 channels of crap.
Well, I think that's become more and more clear,
obvious,
more and more clear and obvious over time.
So we're becoming more sophisticated viewers. I think we're pinpointing what we want.
Gosh, I hope so. I want to spend another episode just talking about your experience on the backside of this. We didn't have time to get to this today, but I'd really be interested in your experience, because I have a sense that you might find that you're having more personal time, more thoughtful time, more enjoyable time watching better quality TV. I don't know.
We can definitely do that. I'll tell you as the story continues and I live through this experiment, I'll tell you about it.
Absolutely. So as the market changes, we will keep you up to date, and we will get to the back end of Brian's story of changing. But that's all that we got today. No emails today because we've used up all of our time. This is Dave Hagan, and you've been listening to the Financial Wellness Podcast.
You've been listening to the Financial Wellness Podcast, Dave's weekly message to keep you on your path to financial success. If you have a question that you would like Dave to answer on the podcast, go to thefinancialwellnesspodcast.com. You can leave an audio message with one click of a button, or type your message into the question box. Either way, it's sent right to Dave's phone. Remember, Dave will randomly draw from the submitted questions and pick the winner of a free 1-hour personal conversation with Dave to help you achieve your financial goals. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you receive the new episode notifications, or share the podcast via the app with your family and friends. This is your announcer, Nick Appel, wishing you every financial success.